Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. I am Suffi, and today I'm here with the second lesson of the week for biology grade 7. Our topic for today is early machines. In our previous lesson, we talk about how in the early times people increase their feeding and what type of methods they adopted for that. And we also discuss farming, that farming is to clear a habitat to make fields for growing crops. Now, when the farming started, so people and the farmers need to clear the land to grow the crops. For that, they were using different tools, like you can see in the picture on the screen. Two farmers are using horses and some tools they are using to grow the crops, to make the land ready to grow the crops. So these were some early tools that they were using. But when their needs increased, more farming started in different parts of the world. So people started thinking about developing new tools and new machines they started making. In the initial stage, they developed some machines. So in this lesson, inshallah, we are going to talk about these machines. The very first machine that they used was a windmill. Windmill was invented by Greeks about 2200 years ago, and their concept was to use the power of the water to take the different tasks. For example, the main thing at that time was after farming, they need to use wheats. They need to use convert it into the powdered form. So they decided to use the power of water. As you know, the moving water has power inside it. So a machine, actually a typical windmill, is shown in the diagram you can see here. They used to pass the running water. After that, the machine used to work and they utilized it for different purposes. Wind, uh, watermill is considered one of the earliest machine invented by the human. Here on the screen you can see the description of the watermill. It was invented by the Greeks about 2200 years ago. Its working principle, it is used it used the power of running water. Uh, when the water runs, it has power in it that get converted into the other form of the energy. So the wheel used to move and they used to get this power to grind up wheat and other seeds to convert it into flour. Second type of early machine was windmill. You can see a typical diagram of the windmill that has been used in the past. Until now, this machine is being used. Windmill was invented by Persian about 1500 years ago, and it was used for the same purpose as watermill was used. Especially it was the earlier time when people invented this machine, so the main concern was grinding up the grains and convert it into the powder form. But this machine was also used for pumping the water. People used to get the energy from the air, used to pump the water from different places, and then utilize that water energy even to run the watermill. Here is the description of windmill. You can see on the screen and can note down in your notebook that windmill was invented by Persian about 1500 years ago. Its working principle means the principle on which it works. It uses actually wind power to move its wheel, and it uses in the uses if we'll see in the early times it was used for grinding grains and pumping water. Nowadays it is used for generating electricity. Next early time machine is steam engine. Steam engine, after the invention of the steam engine, it actually bring a revolution in the field of farming, in the field of industry, and whatever progress the world is having at the moment, it is depending on the engine. Later on, it was converted into other forms of engine. Early steam engine was invented in 1698 in England by Thomas Savery. It produced an up and down movement only. It was not able to move side by side. It was only able to move up and down. And it was used for pumping water out of mines or out of wells. But it was having a problem. It was using the steam. So in many cases, its boiler got exploded. So there was some problem in the technique used by Thomas Savery. This technical fault in the steam engine was removed by James Watt in 1783, and it was a much better steam engine. It was also safe, its boiler was safe, there was no case of explosion in the boiler, and it was producing the rotatory motion like the water wheels and windmills. So that machine was more useful as compared to Thomas Savery steam engine. In the diagram you can see an early steam engine that was developed. Here is its boiler that was storing the steam. Later on steam power was using, and here are the wheels which were providing the rotatory motion. In the early time the steam engine was used to run the trains, and it brings actually a revolution. That revolution is called industrial revolution, and the modern life actually started after that. Many people converted from farming to the other industry where new machines were developed. Life improved after the invention of steam engine. Here is the description of Thomas Savery steam engine. It was invented by Thomas Savery in 1698. This engine produced an up and down movement and was used for pumping water. But there was a problem in Thomas Savery engine, as I discussed earlier, that its boiler explosion problem was there. As when the steam gathered there, so most of the time boiler got exploded. James Watt engine was different from Thomas Savery engine. Here are the differences on the screen you can see. Like in James Watt engine, it was producing a rotatory motion and was safe to use, and it was used for driving all kinds of machines because machines need a rotatory motion. So that requirement was fulfilled by the James Watt engine, and it was safe to use. There was no boiler explosion issue in the James Watt engine. While in a Thomas Savery engine, it produces only up and down movement. It was a very basic steam engine, was using the steam power, but was not able to rotate. And it was not safe to use as there were many cases of boiler explosion. So the boiler was not safe, that could create damage. And it was only used for pumping water from mines and wells.